At a turn in the Upper Delaware River, Jeff Cole and Sophie Weaver from the U.S. Geological Survey's North Appalachian Lab are trying to identify the different species of freshwater mussels.
When we surveyed here, we found three total species: Olympia camponatus, Trophaeus undulatus, which is the creeper, and then Anodon implicata, which is the airway floater, which is a state-listed species. This section of the river can have 9 or 10 species, but 3 is good. It's good to have them. The biomass lake, you saw how it's, I think we're estimating hundreds of millions of animals in the whole river, and so they do a lot of work. They're a biofiltration and they pull out particulate material out of the water column as they're eating, and then they repartition it down to the benthic, down to the substrate level where other critters can eat it.
They are one of 9 teams of scientists who combed the 10-mile run Boy Scout camp in Tustin, New York in late June as part of the 2016 Upper Delaware BioBlitz. Their goal? To identify as many different plant or animal species as possible in a 24-hour period.
It's a relatively undeveloped area. It has good biological diversity. It produces clean water running down the streams from this area into 10-Mile River, which flows into the Delaware River.
Although the mussel population is stable, there is concern a drop in eel numbers in the Delaware could eventually cause problems. The mussels use the eels as a host during their larval stage.
Mussels live a long time, and so they can live, 5, 10, 15, 20, up to some species they've cataloged up to 100, 150 years old. Some of the Elliptia we've aged personally 100, 130 years. We're still trying to, what does that mean? What does that mean for the longevity of a river? So I think it spells that we might have a little bit of time to kind of help and try to figure out the problem with the eels and why they're not doing well before the mussels might catch up.
Faith Zerby is searching for freshwater invertebrates that are part of this delicate ecosystem on the river bottom.
So this is a wonderful specimen of a hellgrammite that lives in clean streams. He's a predator, and he lives here as an immature animal, and he really only lives in very clean streams, like here in the Upper Delaware, where we have healthy riparian corridors. There's a little mayfly he's kind of traveling over here too, on my one hand, but this is one of the biggest macroinvertebrates that you can see in the Delaware River. He's a good example. He lives on the bottom underneath the rocks in riffle areas that have a lot of oxygen in them and a lot of cool water. So this is a stonefly that again lives in the bottom of the riffles in really cool water, and he's got a beautiful pattern appearance. He's one of the biggest stoneflies that we see in the Upper Delaware here in the clean streams.
Yeah, and the huckleberries, if you pick a leaf and look on the underside and shine it in the light, you'll see yellow, shiny glands, and that's one of the ways to identify huckleberries as opposed to blueberries.
Doug Manning is leading a group examining vascular plant life. They've identified 80 different types of plants in less than 2 hours. What they find will provide an indication of the overall health of this forest.
Also, we can look at finding rare plants is also really interesting because we know that these are areas that need to be perhaps given special attention, special protections, because they are at risk.
But this is a native, and it's really pleasant smelling.
And what is it called again?
Sweet fern. Scientific name is Comptonia peregrina.
They will also examine whether the number of invasive species is increasing. That's usually the result of some human activity that cuts through these forests, such as roads, pipelines, or other development.
When these forests are opened up to some sort of disturbance, having those plants already present, even if they're in low densities at this point, presents a threat, because you might have seeds that have dispersed into the forest that, even if they haven't germinated yet, once some more light opens up on that forest floor, that's when we might see those things start to take off, like multiflora rose or Japanese barberry. And once those take hold, they become a really big nuisance and really hard they'll actually tend to dominate the understory.
880 species were identified at a similar event in 2014. Preliminary results show more than 750 different species were identified during this event, but that number could grow.